What's good, y'all? I'm TheGamersician, a producer, rapper, and mix engineer with over 15 years of experience in all things electronic music. From sharing stages with artists like Machine Gun Kelly to sharing a platform with incredible content creators that you love, I've done it all. And today I'm here to help settle a very important debate. The Japanese role-playing game random encounter is as old as the genre itself. Some folks love them, some hate them, but they're almost as ubiquitous a mechanic as there comes in any genre. Even in the games where you can see the enemies on the screen, oftentimes space is so limited or they're just so damn fast that an encounter is inevitable. After the screen shatters into polygonal pieces, that battle intro sound plays and you're whisked away to the fight arena for the
832nd time.
You hear maybe, just maybe, the 20 or 30 most important seconds of music in any good role-playing game. Mad familiar and integral to how that game feels. That is the battle theme. Now, many games will play it safe with a soft and reserved track. Others go for bombast, and even others somehow fumble the bag entirely, despite the rest of the game's OST being absolute slappers. Chrono Cross. But whatever the battle theme sounds like, you better get good and used to it. Getting cozy with the JRPG battle theme feels like a rite of passage as you enter the genre. If you've played enough of them, you either zone the fuck out, throw on a podcast, cue up TheGamersician's YouTube channel, or just become incredibly annoyed hearing the same 16 measures of music hundreds of times until you want to just grab your evoker and but sometimes, just sometimes, there's a battle theme so damn good, so snazzy, jazzy, trippy, and unique that you put your controller down, start tapping your feet, and realize, oh yeah,
we about to get after it.
Now, one of those standout battle themes is Persona 3's Mass Destruction, a song that has become absolutely iconic in the gaming community. Persona 3's Mass Destruction is a standout in my history of gaming soundtracks. It's cut from the same cloth as other iconic tracks of its time, like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike's character selection screen. The fusion of rap, jazz, acid jazz, and trip hop hits your boy like a goddamn blast of Garu, leaving a lasting impression. The OG is godly, but recently Persona 3 got an update titled Persona 3 Reload. Despite not having played it yet, I started to hear some rumblings on Twitter that got me curious about this remake's track. As I dug even deeper down the iceberg, the Reddit discourse seemed clear. People really didn't fuck with what Reload did with the heralded battle theme. New singer, new mix, brand new bars. But is this truly a worse version, or is this the memory of 5,381 fights in P3 portable clouding? Our collective judgment. Well, let's dive into that with a deep analysis of Mass Destruction. We'll be using analytical VSTs from Isotope, lyrical breakdowns, A&B samplings of each track, and my overall critique to evaluate three major criteria: production, vocals, and mixing. Oh, and I have a surprise in store to settle the ultimate question: does Mass Destruction Reload live up to the original? Guess we gon' see. Enjoy the shootout. Now first, let's start off with just the facts. Mass Destruction is a song written by Reiko Tanaka, with all rap verses written and performed by Lotus Juice. The original sung vocals are courtesy of Yumi Kawamura, known primarily for her work on Persona 3 and 4, as well as the Persona anime. And on the other side, Reload's version has sung vocals by Asumi Takahashi, who has various anime credits to her name, but not much in the way of game music. Now, it has a tempo of 119 BPM or 59.5 at halftime. The key is C sharp or D flat, and all versions feature three distinct phases: a pre-verse, verse, and chorus. The Reload rendition adds a fourth and fifth segment, which we'll get to when we dig into that. Now, there are actually 8 versions of this song in total, but yeah, we're only concerned with the original and Reloads, just to keep things from getting too, messy and convoluted. Now, a side note, the original is just a single loop, even leaving in the intro portion, which I cut out to make everything line up for comparison's sake better during the EQ matching. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Then we'll double back with the ratings in the 3 major areas and our final stamp on which is truly the best version of Mass Destruction. So we start out interestingly enough, as you notice that intro section from the original to Reload is exactly the same. Reload actually credits Yumi and that her whole section here was utilized, which actually makes sense because there are some like really dope vocal effects on there and her vocals build up in a way that I don't feel like exactly would fit Azumi's tone and range. It's also such an iconic moment since you hear it every single time the battle starts. I think it was smart to kind of stick with that. So now switching back to OG, you actually hear your first taste of Lotus Juice there. He has some ad libs there. It's a man's world, you know, cue up James Brown. This is actually absent in Reload, which I think is a good move. Can't say I always love that opening, and it repeats every time the song comes back around. Now, more importantly, as those two kind of clash against each other, as we just heard that switch, we kind of get a feel for the production styles of this song. You have the syncopated hip hop inspired drums, that intro horn, that beautiful melodic riff with swells and swag, the acid bass, and a simple yet effective, like rock infused rhythm guitar creeping in the background. And then when we switch to Reload, like what was the first thing that you noticed? Probably that ribbit, right? Yeah, they definitely cranked it up for remake. And I do believe it's to the track's detriment. However, for me, the first thing that I really noticed was the drums and how different they feel. They're much less gritty. They don't have that cowbell percussion. In fact, there's a lot more information in the percussion. The hi-hat rhythm from the original is gone, where the straight 16ths kind of carry it. They've added these open hi-hats that kind of lead to a bouncier, more live feel. This gives an overall production to me, less of that trip hop vibe and more of a live band rendition of the song. Just really different vibes. Now, this could be where some of the trepidation with the song begins. Persona 3 is like a menacing of the dirt type of game, and the grind from the original beat has been sheened away, possibly contributing a bit to the song's decline. Now, on paper, it does feel like Reload should sound better, but music isn't often about what sounds better. It's more about what feels better. Though that build up into the first verse on the new track is much more dynamic with a riser and a drum fill that provides that natural lead up. On the flip, the original opts for like a much more loopy move, removing elements to provide a natural entry to the first verse. This is very common in like hip hop stylings. Now, your mileage may vary, but personally, as a drummer, I actually sort of prefer Reload steez right there. But yeah, hear that? Much different rhythms here. That changeover, you can hear just how much straighter the rhythm is on the original. Now, Reload's verse is like much cleaner. The polish is for sure back, and Lotus Juice's vocals are present. They're well compressed, they're punchy, they're in your face. The use of double panning to both the left and the right does a really good job of filling out the vocal space on the verse and provide a big feel, while the instrumental does itself a favor by kind of settling the hi-hat rhythm down just a little bit. Now, the ribbit comes in hard, but as you probably noticed, the vocal on the old track, much more naked and raw, less present doubling. There's a little bit. It's pushed further back, and the instrumental maintains that like straight ahead hi-hat, relying mainly on the rhythm guitar to provide its balance. The simplicity of the OG really does let the feel kind of take center stage, and it's much more grounded, much more in your face. Now, the mixing based on the frequency spectrum does show a significant dip in the OG. Much starker roll-off, lack of frequencies up top. This largely comes from the more present hi-hat on reload, but also just superior overall mixing techniques. Now, that kind of EQ curve is very common in lo-fi tracks that you find on the OG, and that's like not really a good or a bad thing. It's just kind of an observation. As we switch back, I can't help but to notice that Lotus Juice sounds just a little more like rehearsed. Like this feels more vibey, right? See, just his presence on the reload version. I don't know. Now, rappers, here's a bit of my own advice. Don't over rehearse your verses. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to like re-record a 16, only to find out that my over familiarity makes it sound really stilted and forced. Now, there's a balance to be struck, but from my personal experience, the looseness that comes with your first performances can't often be replicated. Like, know the verse well enough that you're not lost as you spit it, but not so well that it feels stuffy. So, yeah. Now, as the verse approaches its end, the OG uses a nice like high pass filter and drops that kick and snare out, leaving just the cowbell to provide some separation leading into the hook. Okay, now all that verse chat is one thing, but I imagine the refrain is actually where, you know, the real conflict begins. Finding Yumi's age definitively was nigh impossible, but if this Reddit post is to be believed, she's been working in the industry since like 1991. She is at least in her mid to late 50s, maybe even in her 60s. Considering that Persona 3 came out nearly 20 years ago now, I can see why they went with someone with a new, younger and fresher voice. But man, the way that first ooh yeah comes in from Yumi gives me chills every time. Ooh, she has like this jazzy lounge singer scat vibe to her. You know? That it just fits the instrumental's tone so well and bounces off the horns. I also love that little like crunchy distortion on the impact hits that line up with the kick like every couple bars. And come on, man, that bass is absolutely sublime. The mix could be more punchy with the bass diving off that cliff that we talked about, like right around the 60 hertz point. So it does get swallowed up just a bit. If anything holds this version back, it's some of the mixing choices. Now, when Azumi's hook comes in, she has like a much different singing style. And like she also enunciates the baby baby like way harder, and it's less baby baby, it's less jazzy, more classical, which, you know, nothing inherently wrong with. It's just sort of like preferring peanut butter over Nutella. I mean, personally, I love them both, but we got to pick one. While I do prefer Yumi's vocal and the cleaner P bass on Reload sounds much more dynamically controlled, the horn section though sounds thinner and less powerful. Now, this may be a MIDI track that just wasn't stacked far enough. There's also a little bit of variation compared to the original, with more notes within the horn section. Now, that jazzy guitar that drops in on the second half of the OG hook, whew, it's just unequivocally better to me. You hear that? Baby. I love that little rhythm guitar. It just really fits Yumi's style like a glove. It's those little rhythms too in that piano, perfectly tucked in there, just like, you know, tucked away nice and cozy. adding color to the overall sound. Now, I did read somewhere that the battle theme is used a little differently than it is in the original with this, and that it's not the overall battle theme. It's used when you have advantage. So I can understand why they went with a little kind of peppier, more upbeat feel to it, but we're just talking about the songs and the quality of the songs. So don't let that catch you up and make you think that I'm downplaying this one just because of that. So yeah, let's hear how Reload does to build back up into Lotus's verse. Now, in my opinion, the lead ups are the best part of Reload, and it really helps it stand out. Like I said earlier, the original just uses the whole loop again. So you get Lotus's ad-libs again and all that. And to this point, they've been roughly the same structurally, but this is where Reload has a little chance to stand out structurally. And I feel like it does take a pretty big leap in song structure because they actually requested a second verse from Lotus Juice. And I think this is a big deal. Listening to his second set of bars, you really appreciate them. Like, while the OG just goes right back to where it was, same verse ad nauseum, we get his potentially best verse yet. Listen to this. Yeah, like this is his nicest flow for sure. At least in my humble opinion. Like, yeah, let's just let him ride, because greater good would later. That ribbit though, man, they could have done without that shit. The truth, there ain't no truth. And I love how he closes it back out with that iconic build back. Moment of truth, there ain't no truth. Ooh, that bass slide too, so slick, so slick. Okay, so the way that she enunciates yeah right there really bothers me. It almost sounds like girl and yeah layered together, but I don't think it is. It's just yeah, it's just she enunciates it weird. But I do love how she rises up into that last da. And I believe the second yeah is much more like pleasant to the ear. Yeah, she smooths out that second yeah. That first yeah is like way too sharp. Though I will say overall, I think that Reload's hook gets more hate than it should, but you know, Azumi was for sure fighting a losing battle. Ooh, yeah. But one last trick out the hatch from Reload. We get another set of bars from Lotus Juice. And I would call this like a pre-outro because they kind of like bounce off of each other. I just think it's so dope. This might be my very favorite part of the Reload song. The next team. Ooh, yeah. I just love how they bring that crunch back in from the original, and the way like Lotus plays off the cuts and the vocal with this nice call and response. Plus the guitar in the last half really rings out, like it jumps that octave, which did happen previously, but just sounds so incredible with everything else happening. It is really luxurious. Where's history? And there you have it. The original comes back around as you battle shadows until the bitter end. Whew. Yeah. So as I tore down both versions of this song to the most granular aspect, there's actually loads to like about both. So let's have this shootout, shall we? Let's discuss the pros and cons of the production, vocals, and mixing. OG has many upsides for me when it comes to production. The simplicity of everything keeps it really moving forward and on the rails. The horns in this version just hit different, and the acid bass, while not as punchy, just sits better and is less distracting. The guitar that drives the verse section is crunchy and is up front, and the beat's overall composition is really impressive. Now, it does falter a bit with a lack of variety since it's only one loop, and not having a bridge back into the verse that isn't just the intro section again feels like a serious missed opportunity. Now, on the other hand, Reload might be slightly overproduced. It should be a better piece on paper. Modern mixing techniques in hindsight are helpful, but sometimes you just go a little too far. The drums are crisper but busier, as are the horns. The bass sits much nicer and cuts through the mix a lot more, which I believe is the only clear winner for Reload. Well, you know, if it wasn't for that obnoxious ass ribbit layer. Having additional dynamic elements to lead into both verses slightly differently in a bridge section does help this version stand out. The major cons seem overwhelming though, namely the overproduced nature, lack of grit, loss of charm from the original, and thinner instrumentation in most spots. While Reload is undoubtedly the more robust production, I gotta give the nod to the original here. Now, vocals are interesting because OG has one verse and one hook only. Again, super simple. I would never say Lotus Juice is even among my top 1,000 rappers, but sometimes you have that perfect mix of beat, artist, singer that works together, and Mass Destruction OG is just that. While Lotus isn't mixed incredibly well, almost a little, too low for my personal taste, he sounds hungry and passionate. What do we even need to say about what Yumi does here? Her presence on this song is unmistakable and remarkable. It's the best part of any version of the song, in my opinion. But I do love the additional verses and bridge sections that Reload brings. They're really well put together from a purely sound perspective. And though Lotus sounds over-rehearsed on the first verse, his second verse is a banger, period, with a great outro section that gives the song so much more energy than it would have otherwise. Vocals are a mixed bag, to say the least. Part of me actually leans Reload, despite my love of Yumi. But ultimately, I have to give this category a draw. And finally, the mixing. Now, it's clear that Reload has better mixing fundamentals with crisper highs and more present lows. It also does a better job in the mid-range. Now, overall, it makes better choices from an audio standpoint. But the OG does have better placement of some of the elements, including the acid-based synth, and Yumi's vocal actually sounds better to me than Azumi's, as it just generally sounds more well-contained. The doubles are blended better as well. While OG's mixing decisions were intentional, the brightness and overall polish on display with Reload just slightly gives it an edge. The sheen may not flavor it in a way that makes it a better song than the original, but we're talking about mixing only, and the technical mastery is there, even if some of the production decisions don't exactly do it for me. Mixing is not production, again, so we gotta give it the nod. And unfortunately, that means we have a 1-1-1, but there must be a way to break this tie, maybe, right? Well, how about an all-new original TheGamersician song with a combination of both elements and all-new production from yours truly? 1, 2, 3, go!
Strike while the iron is hot before the dark envelops us. Give it all that we got. Pop, pop. 1 for me, 1, 2, 3 for you. SEES sends us fiends you do. Man, I feel the pressure mounting. Tower looking sorta like a mountain. Adrenaline coursing like a fountain. Against all odds, can we surmount them? When the Aki hit one more attempt, we gon' surround them. Moving through the shadows like we in gallows. Chance of victory is narrow. Feel that in marrow. See the moon above in peril. You're like we feral. Never giving in, vigilant until this is settled. Can't ease up because the enemy is violent. Moment of truth, moment for you, moment of silence. One love to everybody above, protecting all your beloved from the mass destruction.
Oh yeah, down, 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 down. Baby, baby, down, 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 down. Oh yeah, down, 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 down. Baby, baby, down, 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 down. Oh yeah, down, 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 down. Baby, baby, down, 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 down. Oh yeah, down, down, down.
back in the back for you whack average ninjas. I take a mile each time, giving a couple inches. Beat you down until you senseless. My senses, we can't ease up because the enemy is violent. Moment of truth, moment for you, moment of silence. One love to everybody above, protecting all your beloved from the man's destruction.
Oh yeah.
That song is available right now on my Bandcamp, including the instrumental version. Links are in the description and pinned comment. Now, my goal with this track was to combine some of my favorite elements from both versions, give it my own production feel and give it a little different look. And if y'all would like a breakdown on how I produce this track, be sure to sound off below. But that doesn't really give us an answer now, does it? And after this long ass video, I know I'm gonna get disliked if I just say, we're all winners here. I think it's clear to me though, after listening to both of these songs about 11 times, that the original is still the champ. Now while it lacks the additional verses, polish or dynamism, it has all the heart that feels a bit, let's say, wanting in Reload. Yumi's jazzier style fits the composition better. Lotus sounds more refreshed and lively, and the production has a grittier, more intense feel that speaks to both the game and the overall song structure. I don't think Reload's version deserves the hate that it gets at all, especially after shaking off my love of the original. But I'd be interested to hear what y'all have to say as well. So yeah, check out Ooh Yeah on my Bandcamp and let me know which version of Mass Destruction is your favorite. I mean, maybe it's not even one that I covered. Finally, find me on Instagram and Twitter under TheGamersician. And if you enjoy this type of content, I would love to create more music related content, so let me know if there's any interest. But yeah, that's all I got for right now. So until next time, peace.